There's a word going round right now, a word so hideous and disgusting it strikes fear into the hearts of grown men if they so much as hear it as a whisper on the wind. I shall not speak of this word. All right, I'll tell you. It's just I've got a bad enough reputation for my use of bad language as it is. What's your language? Too much swearing. Too much swearing indeed. Okay, I'm going to tell you the word. The worst word in the Japanese dictionary, and the word is over-tourism. Literally, over-tourism in English. Sounds so much cooler in Japanese, doesn't it? You've seen the headlines, you know the story. The Great Mount Fuji blocked by a wall. Foreigners riding and crashing go-karts in Tokyo. A real-life goblin on the loose, plaguing the local geisha. A flesh-eating bacteria spreading among the masses. What? What's that all about then? I haven't heard that one. A rare flesh-eating bacteria that can kill people in 48 hours is spreading in Japan. Terrifying mortality rate. Death in 2 days. Oh, maybe it's time to go on holiday again. But wait a minute, 977 cases in the first half of 2024 out of 125 million people. That's not too bad. Oh, and apparently comes from the UK as well. And we all know nothing that comes from the UK could ever be bad. Nonsense. Just wash your hands a bit, innit? But look, if we're to believe the sensational news headlines, and there are many, so very many, Japan has become a real-life hellscape. It's like something between Mad Max, Mordor, and fucking Mario Kart. If I've learned anything from headlines over the years, it's that exaggeration is the name of the game. There's often a disconnect between the headlines and the situation on the ground. And look, I get that Japan has a record number of overseas tourists this year, but for every obnoxious, geisha-tormenting goblin, the other 99% of travellers aren't this disgustingly obnoxious. And I'm at risk of becoming part of the problem by talking about it here over and over on YouTube. So that ends today. I'm going out there. I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to run the gauntlet. We're going to explore Japan's biggest, baddest tourist traps and see if they're really as apocalyptic as they're made out to be. And we're not going to just one tourist trap. We're going to 5. Tsukiji Fish Market, Harajuku, Asakusa, Nishiki Market in Kyoto, and Gion. And as we journey through each location, we'll chat with fellow travellers to see what they make of it all as well, before coming back here to reach our conclusions. It's time for our first ever abroad investigation. Gosh, I can't wait to slam a book shut at the end of the video and say, case closed. Tsukiji's outer market is what remains of the world's former biggest fish market, after most of it relocated 4 kilometres across the bay to Toyosu in 2018. However, the outer market is still going strong, as one of the largest street food markets in all of Tokyo. But after reading a recent article declaring tourists should avoid the market and its high prices, amidst the phenomenon of inbound don, a reference to overpriced donburi rice bowls aimed at inbound tourists, it seems what better place to kick off our first investigation. So I haven't been to Tsukiji outer market in about 5 years since I came here with Ryotaro, and I enjoy it, I like it. Don't get me wrong, it is a tourist trap, you know, it's very touristy. And the food prices I've heard recently are exorbitant. So it's time to go full-blown detective and see just how bad these prices are. And it's not long before we have ourselves a lead as our first suspect shows up, the aforementioned inbound don. What the 7,700 yen. I could scarcely believe it. That's why I need this bloody magnifying glass, because it's such a ridiculous price. For some frame of reference, a bowl of uni typically costs around 3,000 to 4,000 yen in most restaurants in Tokyo. Likewise, another nearby shop selling cuts of fatty tuna is charging 5,000 yen for 4 pieces. Granted, it's the most expensive cut of tuna, but even in a mid-range sushi restaurant you'd expect to pay about half the price for the exact same thing, and with table service thrown in. I've seen some really, really expensive bowls of uni at like 6,000 yen. There was one that was 22,000 yen down the street a minute ago. I spoke to the woman that ran the shop and she said they were organic, so maybe that's the reason why. But I think when you come to a street market, you're expecting bargains, right? And here in Tsukiji, while you can expect all the food in the world, you can try pretty much any Japanese dish going, the number of bargains are few and far between, so bear that in mind. So far today, everything I've seen has been on the pricey side for a street market anyway. I'll admit I hoped to eat some breakfast here at Tsukiji today, but I'll be damned if I'm paying for an overpriced fish bowl. Fortunately though, I soon lay my greedy eyes upon an unagi eel stand, with the scent of the salty, sticky sweet eel sauce wafting through the market. And it's actually at a reasonable price. Surely it's too good to be true. Is this really the good stuff?
So unagi is one of the most expensive fishes in Japan. It's about 1,000 yen. That's a lot of bang for your buck. Not too bad, not too bad. It's interesting, in Kanazawa fish market, it was 500 yen for one stick of unagi. But I don't think there was as much as this, so yes, it's a little bit pricey here, but you do get a lot of bang for your buck and it is quite good. Oh, unagi is so good. I'd like to point out the reason everything is red is not because there's been a bloodbath, because of these low prices, but because there's a massive red sheet above us. I think most foreign tourists coming here might overlook eel because it's not a very nice sounding dish, but actually best value fish I've had in the market all day or seen, and it tastes amazing.
You know, I'm really starting to enjoy this investigation, especially as I soon run into Griffin, an awesome American viewer who's enjoyed a seafood bowl but quickly realised there's a far more tantalisingly priced alternative awaiting fellow travellers.
So, I got that Family Mart chicken because of you.
Yes! No, don't come to Tsukiji, just get some family chicken.
I mean, you don't need anything more than the Family Mart chicken. Let's be real.
He's a wise man. Griffin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And don't eat too much chicken, God forbid.
No promises.
So, would I actually recommend Tsukiji? Surprisingly, yes. The atmosphere is still a ton of fun. I love getting lost down the market's many retro side streets and alleyways. Hell, it wasn't even as crowded as I remember. Perhaps as the new modern Toyosu market has stolen away potential customers and tourists. Just make sure you do your homework and have a rough idea what you should be paying, so you don't walk away from Tsukiji with a hole in your wallet when it comes to seafood bowls and sushi. And so, with the touristy Tsukiji proving not to be quite as bad as I'd initially feared, it's time to switch the game difficulty straight to hard mode. That's right, it's time for... Alright, so you might be wondering, why do I hate Harajuku so much? And the truth is, it stands against everything that I believe in. Shopping, fashion, most importantly, fun. I despise it all. Still, no scientific investigation of Japan's over-tourism would be complete without plunging headfirst into the Technicolor shit show nightmare that is Takeshita Street. Said to be the birthplace of Japan's kawaii culture, a style that places emphasis on cuteness that has since gained traction around the world, creating offshoots such as Kimmel Kawaii, referring to something so gross it's actually cute. And speaking of Kimmel Kawaii, I found the perfect person to help me trek these cursed streets, as I'm sure as hell not doing it by myself.
Takeshita Street, shopping capital of Tokyo. Not just my least favourite place in Japan, but perhaps in the known universe. When you get to come to your least favourite place, you get to have a side character. We've got... Hey!
Thanks a lot, Takeshita Dori.
Help me, Pete.
This is one of the most horrific places for two men nearing 40 years old. We don't belong here. We don't know what we're doing here. There's no good food here. And by God, I'm sober.
They got candy floss.
I'm in.
Let's go.
Okay.
And so, as two men with an average age of 40 trek down the streets of their own midlife crisis, we engage in all that Harajuku has to offer, like fashion.
Welcome to my underground lair. It is appealing if you were maybe in middle school or high school. It has a lot of counterculture and clothing stores, none of which would fit us.
But not every face on Takeshita Street is as sour as these two disgruntled YouTubers, as we run into some viewers who have a more positive outlook on Tokyo's fashion capital.
This is kind of considered a bit of a tourist trap.
This is the Venice Beach.
It is.
Yeah.
But are you guys enjoying it still? Would you recommend it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
And you
super
definitely
cool.
recommend it to everyone.
Yeah,
I would.
totally.
Yeah.
Super fun, lots of cool shops, cool fashion.
Yeah.
And you get to run into Pete as well.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of the space, but they are here to see me. It's pretty good. I hang out. No, I'm kidding. But,
And so we soldier on. What better way to understand whether Harajuku is overhyped or not than by trying some of the horrific local street foods that plague Instagram and TikTok.
It's bigger than my head. So wait, what's the practical way of eating this? Because when I was a kid, it was just on a little stick and you had a little bit.
I'll be fucked if I know, Pete. You're the expert.
Yes.
This is American tradition.
It is.
Have you seen the movie Alien with the face hugger?
Yeah.
It's the same.
It looks like
my god.
It's like a character.
I have to wear
There you
those.
go.
There you go.
Pete's new friend he's made on his journey. It tastes quite good, actually.
It's sugar. That's all this is.
Don't judge me.
Content in the knowledge that today was surely worth it. We head on to search for the final atrocity, dish. One might say a treasure, the end of the rainbow. A macabre rainbow cheese shit show sandwich, more food colouring than food.
So I've got a bit of a reputation for eating anything with cheese in it, but even this next dish stretches the boundaries of my imagination and my depravity. Look at this rainbow cheese sandwich.
It's gonna be good.
Have you had it before?
No, but the grilled cheese sandwich is my favorite food in history.
Even in rainbow form.
Even in rainbow form.
Right.
I feel like there's no way we could possibly mess this up. This might be a clinical disaster. But oh, look at that.
Oh, this is horrible. The question is, how do they colour the cheese? Because it is cheese, it's mozzarella cheese, right?
This is not cheese.
Okay.
This is an edible form of plastic that has been colored to suit a cheese-like substance. This is not food.
Look! That's not cheese. You can't do that.
Looks like a fruit roll-up.
Kind of like it now.
Still a cheese sandwich.
Oh dear, certainly a lunch befitting of Harajuku.
Well, thank you, Pete, for being my bodyguard / side character friend for this ordeal. Did you enjoy your afternoon in Harajuku?
Yep. Just 5 short minutes down the street and we gained 14 pounds. It was great. I actually enjoyed this quite a bit. My memory of Harajuku initially was dread. When you told me, come meet me for the day, I was like, I don't really like this place. But given the context, I actually had a good time today. Thanks for bringing me along.
Was it the company or was it the rainbow cheese?
I think it was the company this time, not the rainbow cheese.
Lovely.
So
I hate to admit it that we had fun.
I did. Oh, thanks. Best friends.
Because it's Harajuku, not because you're here.
I hate to admit it, but we had a good time
we
today.
had good fun. I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, see you guys.
Oh. Well, guys, we've had some very interesting Japanese dishes so far today, but what happens if you can't come to Japan and try the tasty goodness all for yourself? There's a way you can enjoy Japanese treats in the comfort of your own home. Thanks to today's sponsor, Sakurako. Sakurako is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local snack makers, with each box packed full of 20 traditional authentic Japanese treats, including teas and even unique tableware. And this month's theme is close to my heart, as it's themed around the festivals of Tohoku, the stunning region in North Japan and home to some of the liveliest celebrations in the country throughout the summer season. The box begins with this beautiful booklet exploring the stories of each and every snack featured within the box, as well as the all-important allergy information. And the box ends, as always, in my mouth, starting with pear gummies from Yamagata. Whenever I used to go between Sendai and Yamagata to visit Natsuki, I'd pick these up along the way. Yamagata's famous for its fresh fruit, and by putting it in gummy sweets, they've worked out the perfect way to deliver that fresh fruit delight. That's so good, my god. Next up, we have walnut mochi, kurumi mochi, and so this is an awesome blend of mochi rice cake and soy sauce, and it's in an edible wrapping paper. I love it. It's got that chewiness and also the crunchiness of the walnuts as you take each and every bite. Bloody good. Disturbingly satisfying. And what better way to wash all that down than with Iemon matcha genmaicha tea from Kyoto, featuring roasted rice and green tea. I feel like I've been transported to the tea fields of Kyoto. Wonderful stuff. And this month we've got this charming Neko Tenagui cat hand towel, which is just the ticket to mop my brow after eating all these delicious snacks. Too delicious, some might say. Whether you're looking to gift your new best friend a box of the finest Japanese snacks, or greedily keep it all for yourself, you can grab your box from Sakurako in the link in the description box below. Our next stop is perhaps Tokyo's biggest tourist magnet, Asakusa, the historically and culturally important district surrounding the grand Sensoji temple. Top of most travellers' itineraries, the more traditional backstreets are blighted with tacky gift shops at every turn, but perhaps that's half the charm. If anywhere in Tokyo is the focus of over-tourism, it's certainly here. But despite that, is it still worth a visit? It looks like another job for Abroad Investigations. So here we are at Kaminarimon, literally Thundergate, and it leads to Nakamise Street, which leads in turn to Sensoji Temple, the largest temple in Tokyo. Love it here, really cool area, but make no mistake, it probably is the busiest point in Tokyo. And now we must begin navigating thousands of people.
Historically, the area around Nakamise Shopping Street used to be one of Tokyo's largest entertainment hubs, with kabuki theatres and other, less savoury forms of entertainment on hand. Nowadays, as you swim through the sea of people clamouring to take a selfie next to the iconic gate, it's practically impossible to move, let alone enjoy any degree of cultural enlightenment.
Japan, a land of cultural, historic culture. What better place to sell cartoon costume moustaches? Who comes to Sensoji Temple and thinks, yes, what I want today is a moustache to stick onto my face? What a weird shot. When we came down here, I made a video a few years ago, we came to the conclusion it's nicer in the evening. You can enjoy the Sensoji Temple all to yourself and avoid the crowds and the shops. For pure photography, I prefer nighttime.
Still, the allure of Sensoji's atmospheric streets seems to outweigh the crowds, at least for the viewers I meet wandering down Nakamise Street.
Have you guys enjoyed it so far? Would you recommend it? Actually coming here?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, the stalls they are touristy, but there's quite nice little trinkets.
And you don't mind the crowds and things like that?
The crowds
Okay, for an hour or two.
For an hour or
it's
two,
fine.
yeah.
I think it's quite authentic. It's quite cool. You know, people think it's like a tourist trap, but like I think it's a fun experience.
Fun experience.
Yeah.
Have you bought anything today? Have you spent anything? Any money on
I
anything?
bought this amazake.
Amazake, non-alcoholic sake. That's a good shot. Where'd you get that? I might have to get some for myself.
Still, while the crowds of Nakamise Street are tantamount to an intensive cattle farming experience, head off down one of the quieter side streets that surround Asakusa, and the district quickly redeems itself, especially when there's delicious treats to be had.
Japanese potato croquettes in a ring. Now I've seen everything. It's also the perfect way to propose to your other half. My favourite thing about coming to Asakusa isn't the temples, the shrine of the culture. It's seeing the increasingly bizarre food they come up with. Like every week there's something new. Oh, quite good actually. A little bit dry, but it's actually not bad. If you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, would I recommend Asakusa and the Sensoji Temple? I would have been like, yeah, sure, go. It's a cool place. And yet now, after doing every single stop on the Yamanote line, right, a few weeks ago, and exploring places where you can have all of this, where you can have like temples and shrines all to yourself, I don't know if I would recommend it anymore. I don't know. So yeah, Asakusa, give it a visit, but know that there are places where you can kind of relax a bit more and enjoy the temples and shrines and have them all to yourself, not that far from here. But of course, know at those places you can't have a potato in the shape of a ring. And that's what counts, isn't it? Oh.
Just as I'm about to set off for Kyoto, some awesome viewers spot me at the side of the road, unfortunately in this case, stuffing my face with a potato ring. And it's to them that I'll leave the closing thoughts on Asakusa as a tourist destination.
Do you think it's worth coming here?
I think so.
This is our first time.
So first time.
I think so.
It's kind of tough for people on wheelchair. This is life. This is what we have to do.
But I think it exceeds my expectations.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. I feel bad standing here like stuffing my face with this like potato ring. Enjoy your time in Asakusa and Japan. Have a good one.
Well, so far, despite all the apocalyptic headlines, I somehow remain relatively unscathed from my travels, albeit some nasty indigestion from the rainbow cheese sandwich. My God, never again. But no investigation of Japan's worst tourist traps, and over-tourism in general, would be complete without visiting the scene of the crime itself, Kyoto. And so I hop on the Shinkansen and head 2.5 hours west to see just how bad the streets have gotten. As I ride the Shinkansen, I'm overcome with fear. Will I be swept away in a river of tourists? Will I survive the crowds unscathed? Well, yes, because there's nobody here. Where the bloody hell is everyone? This is right in front of Kyoto Station.
Here we are, Kyoto. We're at Higashi Honganji Temple. Look at that, nobody here. What over-tourism. And in fact, this site, as well as being here since the 17th century, it's got the 5th biggest bell in all of Japan. The first biggest bell, of course, is in Sendai, and it's called Ryotaro Sakurai.
Okay, Kyoto might not be the ghost town I've made it out to be. We've simply just stumbled across one of the many spectacular temples that doesn't really make the guidebooks. So instead then, let's see how we fare at the most crowded spot downtown. Dating back over 400 years and affectionately referred to as Kyoto's Kitchen. Our first stop in Kyoto is Nishiki Market, which resides down a single narrow bustling street, 5 blocks long and jam-packed with over 100 shops and restaurants, serving everything from fresh fish and meat to confectionery and sake. Unlike Tsukiji, which is spread across a whole neighbourhood, Nishiki feels far more intense given it's just the one strip. Still, how do the prices here compare to the preposterous inbound dom found on our first outing? Once again, let the investigating begin.
Nishiki Market, I've always wanted to come here, but painfully aware that it is probably the busiest market in Japan. I've always avoided it. Question is it worth it? Is it worth a visit? We're about to find out once I've battled my way through this crowd.
We're truly spoilt for choice in Nishiki Market, but perhaps, unsurprisingly, the first thing that catches my eye, or rather my nose, are the buttery Wagyu skewers sizzling away on a nearby grill.
Kobe beef skewers, 2,500 yen a skewer. It's not cheap, but if it's real, actual Kobe gyu, then it is worth it, and that's a good price. It smells pretty reassuring.
Fuck me, I've only been in Nishiki Market 5 minutes, and I've already splashed out 5,000 yen on 2 skewers of so-called Kobe beef. This had better be good.
It's good, but it's not A5 Kobe gyu. Tastes good, but it's a bit chewy. Would I get it again? No, I wouldn't. It's chewier than Wrigley's chewing gum. The beef wasn't like what you imagine Kobe gyu to be like, or Wagyu in general. It was quite chewy, almost like British beef, you know. Back when we were in Takayama last year, I had an A5 Wagyu on a stick for 600 yen. It was incredible, like a dream. This place was 2,500 yen for a lesser cut of beef. It said out front Kobe gyu, right? Kobe Wagyu beef. And there's a nice cut of an A5 looking Kobe gyu in plastic form out front. So I thought, it's going to be that. It wasn't. Whatever it was pretty chewy and well seasoned, but be careful. I find Wagyu is one of the most misleadingly advertised kind of dishes you'll find in Japan, and that was certainly not worth 2,500 yen. Absolute rip-off. Be careful.
Oh dear, given I've blown most of my pocket money on a skewer of Wagyu beef, I'd promptly decide to drown my sorrows at a store selling obscenely cheap sake.
I love these overflow cups, because when you spill it, inevitably it just goes into the cup beneath, which you can also drink from. My god, 100 yen for this. And it's not one cup sake, this is the real deal. Very good. That makes up for the Wagyu, that really does. I have to say, Nishiki Market is nowhere near as busy as I thought it would be. But yeah, maybe it's because it's summer, I don't know, but it's actually not that busy here. I hope I don't regret drinking all this sake on a mostly empty stomach, especially going to Gion next, the respectable geisha district. It's not going to end well, is it? There's going to be some new news stories coming out in a few hours' time.
Full of refreshing sake and billion-dollar beef, it's nearly time to head to our next tourist hotspot. But something feels amiss. I genuinely expected Nishiki to be unbearably crowded, and it's been anything but, and so I seek out a couple of shopkeepers to try and discover why things are so oddly quiet.
That's really interesting. I've spoken to 2 shopkeepers now, and they both said weekdays, Nishiki Market really isn't that busy. They almost sounded disappointed. So if you want to come here, avoid the weekends, because this place, what I thought would be like the busiest market in Japan, is actually kind of calm. So drink the sake, avoid the Wagyu, and eat the Daifuku strawberry mochi rice cake. And now, it's time to go to Gion, so we can spot any geisha. Just kidding, we're not going to harass them like everyone else does. So here we are in Gion, the entertainment capital of Kyoto, and if over-tourism was a misdemeanor, this would be the absolute scene of the crime. Earlier on this year, they did close down a few of the roads to tourists to protect that historic quarter, that historic neighbourhood where the geishas still live, work, operate. What I will say today, though, is the only crime I've seen so far has been the daylight robbery that was the Wagyu beef costing 2,500 yen on a stick. I was robbed in Kyoto. That should be the title of this video. Anyway, rant aside, let's go and have a look at Gion and see what the situation is in the area and the street where people can't film anymore, which is going to make filming this certainly rather interesting. So this is new, there's a sign here sort of warning people what not to do. For example, please understand, Maiko, geisha, it's a true profession, have respect, don't walk around where they work impersonating Maiko for photo ops. Impersonation? Wow. I haven't seen that before. I've seen Maiko being chased down the street, but never
like impersonated. Don't sit on the bridge and don't sit on the fence, just like we saw several people doing on the bridge moments ago. Clearly the sign is not as effective as people would like. At the heart of Kyoto's over-tourism woes lies Hanamikoji Street, a kilometre-long street instantly recognisable as much for its characterful Ochaya tea houses as the many threatening signs that linger on every corner, warning tourists to refrain from photography lest they be fined several thousand yen. As we mentioned at the start of the episode, after several well-publicised incidents of tourists disturbing private property and harassing geisha, a ban has been put in place on many of the private alleyways, prohibiting non-residents from entering. It's time to wander down the street, which is perfectly fine, and see what we can find. And in order to respect the rules, obviously, we won't be filming it, so you're gonna have to take my word as gospel. Trust me on this one. So that was encouraging. Just took a stroll down Hanamikoji Street, spotted one Michael, and only saw a handful of folks get their phones out and sneak a photo in. Actually, people were a lot more respectful than previous times that I've had a stroll down that street. So yeah, definitely seems to be a change. So that's a good thing. Very encouraging stuff. Only saw one Michael get run over in a go-kart. Reassured by my Hanamikoji Street stroll, and once again surprised at how oddly peaceful my trip to Kyoto has been so far, we head to the final boss battle, up the mountainside towards the Kiyomizu-dera Temple and the city's ultimate photo spot along the way. So we're in Higashiyama now, and this is the busiest place in Kyoto, with rickshaws, all the rickshaws. There we go. It is certainly busy, but the approach up to the Yasuka Pagoda can't be beat. What a beautiful view. Oh god, not beef again. Not again. It's 1,000 yen here. 2,000 yen for Miyazaki. Fuck it, 4,000 yen. 4,000 yen for Corby beef. Is it really Corby beef? Do I want to get ripped off again? No, I don't. People come from all over the world to get a photo of Kyoto Starbucks. Made entirely from wood. It's quite the sight. I will say the first time I saw it, I had mixed feelings. I was like, is this the place you want to put a Starbucks? They've made it blend in rather well, and the crowds love it, and that's all that matters. Well, we've nearly reached the end of our journey, and as we rush up the mountain to the soon-to-be closing Kiyomizu-dera Temple, I run into Kazu, a viewer who's on holiday in Japan, and who seems to be surprised by the lack of overcrowding on Kyoto's streets this afternoon. How's it been, like, generally?
Today, I don't know, I felt like a little bit quieter. Yeah.
I found that. It's weird.
I saw because a lot of people said like a lot of tourist people, but no, it's really comfortable.
Maybe it's Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Power of Monday.
Yeah, and also rain season.
And rain.
Yeah.
Oh, well guys, we made it up to the Kiyomizu-dera Temple, and what a reward. Stunning view. That was really interesting. I just spoke to Kazu, a Japanese guy living in the UK, and he's back here on holiday, and he proposed the reason Kyoto was so quiet in June is because it's rainy season. People don't come here for that, which is something I'd never actually thought of. So what I've learned today is A, come to Kyoto on a Monday, B, come to Kyoto in June, well, it's quite hot, and C, don't buy the overpriced Waikiki beef. Never do that. Okay, so here's what we've learned. Japan might not be Mad Max meets Mordor after all. Honestly, I expected to be stuck in a literal, immovable crowd several times today, and it only happened once. Still, I'd say we came away with 5 useful tips for travellers coming to Japan. Number 1, avoid Kyoto at weekends. It's actually not too bad on the weekdays, we saw and heard from the shopkeepers wanting more customers. Number 2, Harajuku is still awful. Really quite awful. I honestly never want to go there and eat edible rainbow filth ever again. But if I do go back, God forbid, I'll be sure to take P. You could really tell he was having a great time. Number 3, Asakusa isn't quite as good as I remember. It's a nice district, but during the day it's absurdly overcrowded. If you actually want to feel moved, maybe visit one of Tokyo's 4,000 temples and shrines that aren't like a football stadium, or go in the evening after 8 PM when the shops are shut and you can enjoy the Sensoji temple in a more relaxed atmosphere. Number 4, Tsukiji market still rules when it comes to street food, and actually the only really overpriced thing we found were the ludicrously priced seafood bowls. And number 5, don't blow all your pocket money on the Wagyu beef at Nishiki market, but do go to the market itself. It actually turned out to be my favourite of the 5 locations we visited on this trip. Honestly, I wish I could have spent all day standing around drinking reasonably priced sake. But I have to say, I came back from this overall investigation reassured that amidst Japan's kind of tourism boom, all 5 of the worst tourist traps in the country are still remarkably bearable. Well, nearly all anyway. And so as we conclude our first episode of a broad investigation, there's only one thing left to say, and that is, Case closed. Fuck yeah, that was awesome. What's your language? Too much swearing. Oh yeah, sorry.